world is lacking. That way you can move him where you want to carry him. That place belongs to our people. This is the earth world covered. Amen. Please stand for the real the word, please. Our word this morning. Okay? All right. It's come from First Corinthians, chapter 13, verses 9 to 13. Amen? Amen. The word reads as such. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. Does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Think no evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth. Bears all things, believe all things, hope all things, endures all things. Love never fails. But whether there are prophecies, it will fail. Whether there are tongues, it will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. But we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in it, part will not be done away. I read you 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 9 to 13. May the Lord have blessed the hearers, readers, and most importantly, do those holy words. That was not 1 Corinthians. That was not. Let's bow our heads in prayer this morning. Lord, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Lord, for waking us up for another Sunday morning to give you honor and praise, Lord. Yes, Lord. Let us be the fruit that you want us to be and bear in the proper way, Lord. Lord, bless the pastor of this house and his first lady. Forgive us for all the things that we have not done, and forgive us for the things that we did not do. Lord, just please bless this service. Rain down your holy praise upon us, Lord. We need you, Lord, more than anything. The economy's bad. Politics are bad. Everything is going bad in this world, but you are the true light, Lord. Let us imitate that light within us so we can draw them into us, Lord. Lord, I know I'm asking for a lot of things this morning, Lord, but I know you can do it. You went to the cross and did it for us, Lord, to give us a second chance at life. Lord, I thank you for that this morning, Lord. I thank you, and I thank you once again, Lord. I ask all these things in your son Jesus' name for I pray. Amen.
I want to help praise him. I love to 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 praise his holy. I love to praise him. I love to praise him. I love to praise him. I love to praise his holy. Well, he's my rock, my sword and shield. Oh, he's the wheel in the middle of the wheel. I know he'll never, ever let me down. He is the jewel that I have found. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I love to praise his name. Well, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I love to praise his name. Well, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I love to praise his name. I love to his holy. Well, he's my rock, my sword and shield. Well, he's the middle of the wheel. I know he'll never, ever, never let me down. He is the jewel that I have found. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I love to praise his name. Well, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I love to praise him. Well, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I love to praise his name. I love in the morning, in the noonday, in the evening, in the midnight hour, to praise his holy name. Amen.
Amen. Has God been good to you? Has God been good to you? Give God some praise. Give God some praise. You say that you love to praise his name. Give God some praise. 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 He woke you up this morning. He started you on your way. He's keeping you in your right mind. Give God some praise. Yeah, yeah. Amen. Can we stand for this? For the sponsor reading? Amen. I'll read the leader, you read the congregation. At the end, we'll read all together. Amen. Say amen when you're there. It's in your programs, also in your Bible. Philippians 2:12 through 18. Amen. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Do all things without murmuring or disputing, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain, neither labored in vain. All for the same cause, also do you rejoice. Rejoice with me. Amen. Amen. May God add a blessing to the hearing and doing of his word. Amen.
Good morning. I want to see some smiles on y'all's faces this morning because God woke you up this morning, didn't he? He started you on your way, didn't he? You have breath in your body, right? Can you see? Can you wave your hands? Can you stomp your feet? Can you run? Because God is good all the time. Let's not sit down on him today. He's still the same God today, forevermore. Amen? Amen. Amen. God is good. And I don't take that for granted. Amen. Amen. It is our time now to acknowledge our guest. If you are first time or just visiting today, can you please stand and remain standing and give your name and a little bit about yourself? Come on, come on, Reverend. Come on, Reverend. Yes, I like that fire. Amen. Amen. And we would have gave you a little gift, but see, you are a member, so we know that you are a member. You're just here to see us today. Amen. We have a saying here at True Spirit for our guests. you can turn your head to the announcements.
5th. My name's Sierra, and let's get started on this week's announcements. We say it every week, and you know I'm going to say it again, but did you know that you can still be a part of Sunday service if you are away? You can watch live and previous services by searching and subscribing to the channel TSPC Media on YouTube. If you recently joined True Spirit, we have a class just for you. It occurs every Sunday in the fellowship hall starting at 9:30. For those of you that want to brush up on the Word of God and dive deeper, we also have our Sunday school, which occurs at the same time. This Thursday, we will have our church business meeting at 6 p.m. Now I want you to take a moment and look at this. What you are seeing is all the back to school items that you guys have been bringing in for TSBC's back to school giveaway occurring this Saturday. There will be free haircuts, shoes, and backpacks at this event, which will occur from 10 to 12 p.m. While this corner is certainly getting full, donations are still being accepted. We want to fill this corner so that we can be a blessing to our community. On Saturday, September 7th, we will have our women's retreat called Diamonds in the Rough. It will occur at Julie's Penrose Carriage House, and the cost is $15, which covers a light breakfast, lunch, and snack. If you are interested in attending, you can sign up in the vestibule. Looking ahead, we will be having a leader seminar on Saturday, September 21st, starting at 8:30 a.m. All leaders and co-leaders need to be in attendance. Finally, we will be holding an event called Pastor's Corner on Saturday, October 12th, starting at 10 a.m. Registration is $10, and all pastors and ministers are invited to attend. That does it for our upcoming events. Keep up with what's going on by searching and liking us on Facebook at True Spirit Baptist Church. Now, here are the rest of your weekly announcements, and remember, God loves you, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it, even if you try. Have a blessed week.
Thank you for your love. Your love. Yes. I know you love me. Yes, you do, Lord. Yeah. Thank you, Lord. Yes. I thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. I thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. I thank you for your love. Your love. Oh, Lord. I know you love me. Yes, you do, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I thank you for your love. 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 Love lifted me. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. I said, love lifted me. Lord, love lifted me when nothing else could help. When nothing else could help. When nothing else could help. My mama couldn't help me.
Okay, in my excitement, I forgot to make an announcement. Okay, on behalf of Sister Patton, which is our women's ministry president, the women's ministry of True Spirit is sponsoring their annual retreat on September 7th. At this year, the theme is Diamonds in the Rough, and it's coming from James 1 and 12. The location is at the Julie Penrose Carriage House, located on the Broadmoor Estate. The cost is $15 to come. Lunch and a light breakfast will be served. We will have a sign-up sheet outside, so all women of True Spirit should be in attendance. Amen? Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Good morning, True Spirit. Welcome to the True Spirit 6. Oh, Lord. My. And you change that matter. Woo. My. Listen, y'all. My soul was sinking in a world of sin. Grace and mercy, they took me in, picked my feet up out the miry clay, and put me down on solid rock to stay. Oh, what a relief it was when God rescued me. He loosed the chains that had me bound, and he set me free, and it felt like cooling water, felt just like cooling water, cooling water from Grandma's well. Hey, it was a sleepless night, so much pain, couldn't see no sunshine, child, nothing but rain. We'll endure through the night. In the morning it will be alright. I said, oh, what a relief it was when God rescued me. He loosed the chain that had me bound, and he set me free. And it felt like cooling water, felt like cooling water, felt like cooling water, cooling water from Grandma's well. Hey, it felt like cooling water, felt just like cooling, felt so good, just like I knew it would when it raised me. Felt just like cooling water, saved my soul, made me whole. But I'm reminded of another water. I'm reminded of another water. Let me tell you what happened to me. Took me down to a muddy pond, re-baptized. Yes, they did. Baptized me. Name of the Father. Baptized me. Name of the Son. Baptized me. Name of the Holy Ghost. Name of the Holy Ghost. And we all become one. That ain't all. Y'all don't hear me. I came up from that water. I had a brand new walk. I didn't walk same old way. When I came up from that water, I had joy all in my heart. No more pain. Changed my mind. I didn't think same old way. Changed my heart. I had a different word to say. It changed me. It changed me. I didn't want to just live. I wanted something I could give. How about you? Can I ask y'all a question? Can I ask you a question? Have you been dipped? Have you been dipped in that water? If you've been dipped in that water, you'll find joy. In that water, you'll find peace. In that water, you'll find love. In that water, you'll find hope. In that water, you'll find deliverance. In that water, you'll find forgiveness. In that water, find salvation. In that water, praise God for that water. Praise God for that water. Praise God for that water. Cooling water from Grandma's well.
prayer time now. We want to continue in our worship as we go before the Lord. As he tells us to cast all our cares of him on him because he does care. We're going to ask that you come to the altar. Most gracious Father, we thank you this morning. We thank you for another day, God. We thank you for a day that you have allowed us to see, God, to be in the land of the living, God. Lord, to just draw closer to you, God. Another day of your mercy, God. Another day of grace, God. Lord, we thank you, Lord, another day that you have chose to love on us, God. And Lord, that we can love on you, Father. Lord, we thank you this morning. We thank you this morning, God. Lord, we don't take it for granted, God. We thank you this morning, God. Lord, you gave us the activity of all of our limbs, God. Lord, you blew your breath into our lungs, God. Lord, we thank you this morning. Lord, we know that's in you that we live, we move, and we have our being, God. Lord, we can't do anything apart from you, God. Lord, we thank you, Father. We thank you, God. We ask, God, that you forgive us, God, of all of our sins, God. Everything that we done that was not pleasing unto you, God. Anything that would stop these prayers from going forward, God. Lord, we ask that you forgive us, God. And then we ask, God, that you cleanse us from all unrighteousness, God. Creating us a pure heart, God. In the name of Jesus, Lord. Lord, we say thank you this morning, God. Thank you for everyone who has come here this morning, God. Everyone who has made it out to the house of God, Lord. The house of prayer, God. To hear a word from you, God. To worship you, God. To serve you, God. Lord, we thank you, Lord. We ask that you bless on this morning, God. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for your Holy Spirit's presence this morning, God. We thank you, God, for the presence of the Holy Spirit, God. We thank you, Lord, that he's going to rest, rule, and abide, God. We thank you, Lord, that he's going to have his way today, God. Even in the mouth of the speaker, God. He's going to have his way, God. We thank you that chains will be broken, God. Bondage will be broken, God. Lord, we thank you, Lord, that fears will be gone, God. Lord, we thank you, Lord, that you're healing sickness today, God, because your word is going forth, God. Your word is breaking up things, God. Your word is stirring up things, God. Lord, we thank you for your word, God. We thank you for your truth, God. Let your truth abide in us, God. Let your truth abide in us, God. Let your truth abide in us, God. Let us live that truth, God. Let us walk out that truth, God. Let us give that truth out to others, God. In the name of Jesus, Lord. Lord, we glorify your name this morning, God. Lord, we ask, God, that you would bless all those who are in the nursing homes, God. Lord, we ain't going to ask that you go there because I know you're already there, God, because you are omnipresent, God, Lord. You are everywhere at one time, God. But we do ask that you would bless, God. We ask that you would touch them, Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord. We ask that you would comfort them, God, in their time of need, God. Lord, we ask, God, that you would just ease the pain, God, the pain that they're dealing with, God. Ease that pain, God. Help them to breathe better, God. Lord, show them that they are loved, God, even through the staff, God. Show them that they are loved, God, in the name of Jesus, Lord. Oh, God, we pray, God. We pray over the city of Colorado, God. Lord, we just come against that spirit of murder, that spirit of death, God. We bind it over our city, God, in the name of Jesus, Lord. Lord, we release a spirit of peace, God, a spirit of truth, God, a spirit of unity, God, a spirit of love, God, in the name of Jesus, Lord. We ask that your will be done in this state, God, as it is in heaven, God. Well, Lord, we ask that you would go through and break up the principalities and the powers, God, that destroyed this city, God, that combine our churches together in love and unity, God. In the name of Jesus, God, tear down all the walls that divide us, God, in the name of Jesus, God. Lord, I pray that you will get loose in our hearts, God. Get loose in this city, God. Get loose in our churches, God. Get loose in our children, God. Have your way in our lives, God. Have your way, God. Have your way, God. We need you, God. We need you, God. We need you, God. We're calling on you today, God. We need you, Jesus. Jesus. We need you, Jesus. We need you, Jesus. We don't need nothing else. We need you, Jesus. We need you, God. We need you, Lord. And we give you glory, God. We thank you. We thank you, God. We thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord. And one more, God, I ask that you bless our children as you turn to school, God. Lord, keep them safe. Keep them from all, protect them from all hurt, harm, and danger, God. Protect them from the enemy, God. Keep them focused, God. Lord, help them to make the right decisions, God. Help them to make the right choices, God. Lead them away from temptation, God. Oh, God, we thank you. We thank you, Jesus. God, we thank you. We thank you, Lord. And we give you glory. We give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Sit on your end. You sit on your end. That's the way you do your end.
Let us continue in that attitude of worship.
Can't train them.
This is our offertory period. Will the deacons and ushers come at this time? Our Heavenly Father, we come this morning. We just thank you for those who gave. God, we just lift those up who wanted to give and have it not, God, that you would bless them all the more. Oh God, we just give you praise. May it all go for the upbuilding of your kingdom. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Well, I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. On him I can depend. Jesus, I put my trust in. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. Everybody sang, and I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. depend. Jesus, I put my trust in. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. Well, I found me a burden bearer when I found Christ. I found me a burden bearer when I found Christ. My load he'll help me bear. Whenever I need him, he's always right there. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. I found me a burden bearer when I found Christ. I found me a burden bearer when I found Christ. My load he'll help me bear. Whenever I need him, he's always right there. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. Well, be a rock, be a rock, be a rock, be a rock. Found somebody I can lean on. Found somebody I can talk to. Rock of ages, bless with me. Let me hide myself in thee. He's my rock. He's my rock. What's his name? What's his name? I said Jesus. I said Jesus. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Call him, 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 call him. Be a rock. 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 See, I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. Well, I found me a solid rock when I found Christ. Good morning, True Spirit. How's everybody doing this morning? Blessed. That's what I like to hear. We blessed in the name of the Lord. Came in the house to worship. Now we're here to speak a word. It's a song that's been on my heart, and I feel like I have to sing it. I gotta be obedient. So y'all can join in with me, please. Just the first verse. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound I can sing, that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, hallelujah, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Glory to God. That's a song my daddy used to sing when he got up to preach, and he would stand and he would close his eyes. And as a kid, I didn't really know what that meant. I haven't been through anything. I'm 5, maybe 9. And as I grow older, I remember a quote from an older gentleman, from an elder: "If you haven't been through anything, keep on living." So now I'm up here singing this song, and it means so much to me. I'm trying to keep it composed because I got to give y'all a word, says the Lord. But it's never a bad opportunity to give him praise. The word today is going to come from 2 Corinthians, and we're going to go to the 12th chapter. The scripture covers 5 through 10. And something different from me, I'm reading from the New Living Translation. Well, God works in mysterious ways. So if you have it, say amen. All right. And I'm just going to read, I'm just going to read one sentence. And it says in the 5th verse, "I will boast only about my weakness." Let us pray. Father God, we thank you. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to come and rejoice in your name, Lord God. Bless us that the word that you receive, that you give to us, Lord God, is received and we leave here different from how we came. Father God, reduce me, Lord God, remove self, and that you be glorified, that you be lifted up. And all these things we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, we're starting with the 5th verse here. This is Paul talking to the church, well, writing a letter to the church of Corinth. And he says, "That experience worth boasting about, but I'm not going to do it. I will boast only in my weakness." You see, Paul has a divine relationship with God. What he's talking about of these experiences, he went to saw heaven. Whether he knows if he was in his right body or not, but he saw heaven. And he saw, he seen Jesus. That's how he became Paul, or changed his name from Saul to Paul. So all these things, when you start getting all these blessings from God, and you get these spiritual gifts from God, it's easy to get a big head, if you will, to get overconfident, to think that I did this. Okay, but Paul's telling the church, no. I can boast about it, and I'll be okay. But I'm only going to talk about my infirmities, my weaknesses. And he said, if I wanted to boast, I would be no fool in doing so, but I would be telling the truth. But I won't do it because I don't want anyone to give me credit beyond what they can see. Think about that. In your ministry, in your walk, anything that you have, if you're a child of God, anything that you have, it came from God. Yeah, you got a nice car and you probably got a job to do it. Oh man, I got this nice car and I'm making this 9-figure income. Okay, great. But let God touch you and see where that stuff is gonna go then. See, everything that we do, the glory comes from the Lord. It goes to the Lord. We can't do anything without him. And that's what Paul is trying to get us to understand. That we can't boast about the things that we have. Because they can be taken away in a split second. And then we go on into the 7th verse, and it says, even though, it says, even though I have received such wonderful revelations from God, so to keep me from being proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh and a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from being proud. And see, this is why I changed from the King James to the New Living, because the wording in there is the same, but it has a profound wording in the New Living. So all of these things, apparently Paul got a little proud. And God had to look down on him and say, you know what? I've done too much for you, more than you can handle on your own. So I'm going to reach down and put this thorn in your flesh. So every time you start to think that I am Paul, I made it, I'm going to push down on that thorn to remind you, to humble you, and remind you of where you came from.
And I can be a witness to that. I know I'm not the only one here that God has been good to, so good to, that you just go get a little beside yourself and forget where you came from. It happens. It happens. So when you get this thorn in your flesh, what do you do with it? Do you complain about it? Um, do you forget about God because you feel like He's forgotten you? Forbid not. But what does Paul say? What does Paul say? I think Paul has an answer for that. Let's look back into the scripture. So Satan to torment me and keep me from being proud. 3 different times, verse 8 says, 3 different times I begged thee, Lord, take it away. And each time he said, my God, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. I don't think y'all get the gist of what that means. You know, so many, especially in this time and age, we're dealing with infirmities, we're dealing with sicknesses, we're dealing with job losses, we're dealing with anything that can bow us down and keep us deterred. But God said, my grace is enough for you. You don't need anything else. You don't need anything else. You see, Paul prayed 3 times to take it away from him, and God essentially strengthened him. We read a little bit further back, and I think it's in the book of Matthew. Jesus prayed 3 times to remove this cup from me. And on the 3rd time, an angel came to strengthen him. Same God. Same God. He operates in the same manner. You have to understand that. So many of us, you know what, I'm not going to say us, me, and the story that I've been through, I can't tell you how many times I've prayed, Lord, I don't want this. I can't do this. Lord, my leg hurt. My chest hurt. Everything hurt. Take it away. Lord, just take it away. But you see, where's the glory in that? Where's the glory in that? If you never go through anything, how are you going to be strong enough to do the will of God? You can't. Sometimes you have to go through some things, and some people have to go through more things than others because our heads are just that big. You know, we like to exalt ourselves. We do. You know, we put on nice clothes and a nice suit, and we sit up here and on a Sunday, and, well, look at your shoes ain't as good as mine, but, you know, I'm going to boast about that. I'm going to boast about that. Or I sing better than everybody here. I think y'all get what I'm saying? You're glorifying yourself, but the glory goes to the one and true God. The one and true God. You have to understand that when we go through things in our life, in our infirmities, in our sickness, that we ought to rejoice. We ought to rejoice in it. The Bible also tells us that in our chastisement, that we ought to give God our praise. How many of us can do that? I can tell you it took me a while, and I'm still working on it. Some things, Lord, Lord, I'm trying, but you know, just a little bit, help me out. So he says, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So why does his power work best in weakness? Well, there's one thing that God detests, and that's a proud heart. Right? So if you're full of pride, 9 times out of 10, nobody can tell you nothing. And if they did tell you, you're too proud to listen. How many times has somebody told us something that was probably right, but because us and all our mighty knowledge, our infinite or our finite knowledge, but we think it's infinite, have we said, no, I'm going to do it my way. Only to let fall flat on your face and be like, man, I should have listened to instruction. hmm hmm But you see, that's how God works. God can't work in a proud heart. It says, humble yourselves before the Lord. And through your humility, God can work great works. You see, the Christian walk is a servitude walk. In order to serve, you have to be humble. If you've ever working in any kind of customer service capacity, you understand that you're going to meet some people that you don't want to humble yourself to. But the more they act up and the more you act back towards them, the worse the situation gets. But if you take the bigger road, the godly road, and just humble yourself, who's the fool? Because they sitting there arguing with themselves. Well, I won't. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. You ain't got nothing to argue with. Take it away from them. Take it away from them. Take it away from them. So, uh, my power works best in weakness. So now, still in verse 8. So now I am glad to boast about my weakness. I am glad to boast about my weakness. Well, what are your weaknesses? What are your infirmities? Some of us have a testimony that we never even told anybody. How can we expect to lift somebody else that's going through the same thing that you've gone through if we hold our testimony to ourselves? And I can tell you, giving your testimony is therapeutic. You know, they can sit you in front of a counselor or whatever they call them nowadays, but if you can tell somebody your story and how you made it, and just look at them, and even if they get a glimpse of hope and a sparkle of their eye, you're doing a whole lot better than anything else. So, and um, he says, that's why I take pleasure in my weakness and the insults, the hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. You see, when you're weak, when you're humbled, you need somebody to help you. And the only person that can truly help you or send help for you is the one and true God. So that power through your weakness enters into your spirit. You understand? We're not talking about carnal weakness. Yeah, that's the carnal weakness is for us. But God is touching the spirit because the Bible says the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. So if you got God and the Holy Spirit entering into empowering you in your weakness, you won't start to think about everything that's going on. You continue to walk the straight and narrow, as they call it. And understand that. Understand that. And it's hard. You know, you see, Paul, well, he wrote it. Yeah, I lived it. Look, I lived it. Let me just do my testimony real quick, because while I'm up here, and it goes to the word. About 4 years ago, I came with some kind of illness. I don't even know what it is. Doctors still don't know what it is. All right, but it attacked me. I started with my arms, moved down all the way through my body, touched my nerves. Doctors said I got ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. Now you imagine, I was in the army at the time, playing ball, fit, lifting weights. One day, I'm playing ball. The next day, I can't move. Had my wife putting on my shoes, buttoning up my shirt, take my time to get everywhere I go. I had to, what they call the airborne shuffle, just a little bit slow. And then, And then on top of that, it started touching my muscles. So now my muscles started going away. Now you got to think, this is me. I took pride in the way I look, being physically fit, being able to do what I wanted to do. There's other things, but this is what I saw as important, you know? So we have that, and then, later on, as I told at the nursing home, now the weakness has affected my lungs, so now I have what I guess there's some kind of lung disease that they don't know what it is. Again, keep in mind, nobody knows what anything's going on, but I'm seeing all these doctors. And so it causes me, I should be on oxygen while I'm exerting myself. Here I'm fine, but if I walk distances, my oxygen levels start to drop, right? So that, and then my hips, both my hips, I had a hip replacement on my right hip. I'm 34 years old. Let me just tell you that right now. I'm only 34. I've been cut open 7 different times. Surgery. And nobody can explain on this earth can explain what happened. But let me give you a backstory behind that. At the age of 5, and I don't remember this, but at the age of 5, a lady at a Baptist church that I went to, she told me, "You're going to preach one day." At the age of 9, at a revival, an evangelist I never met before just came down and said, "Son, you're going to preach one day. Let me pray for you." And I knew that it was on my heart, especially around the age of 21. It started getting rough for me. I was like, Lord, I just can't do it. I'm not ready. But if God's telling you to do something, you're ready. Understand that he's not equipped you to fail. You're ready. And I kept fighting. And God told me it's time for you to get out the army. 4 years. So in 4 years, he said it's time for you to get out the army. Well, Lord, I'm good at my job. I want to do all this stuff. I'm explaining myself to God. Because I know better than God, right? That's that proudness. That's that boasting, that glory, that self-glory that got me where I am today. So finally, came a time about, 3 years ago, I decided, you know what, enough is enough. I'm getting out. And I talked to my mom, how do I find a church? How do I go about being a preacher? She said, well, first of all, you got to find a church home. And I did just that. And I started walking in the will of God. So, and you say, well, what's the testimony? Look at me. By the grace of God, I can walk. My hip were hurting, but my leg still functions. My lungs still functions. By the grace of God, I can do all things. And through all my weakness, I often say I don't have the voice to do a lot of things, or the lung capacity to do all the things. I definitely can't shout like Pastor. Lord knows I want to. But God has given me the strength to stand up here today, to walk, to function on my own, to be able to read the Word of God, to be able to preach the Word of God, to be able to teach the Word of God. Hallelujah. Somebody going to get that today. Somebody today is going through some things and they don't know what to do. The doctors don't know, but God knows. That's what that thorn in your flesh is. People can't heal it, and God ain't going to heal it. He's got to keep that in you, to keep that thorn, to keep you proud, to keep you level, to keep you humble. And I praise God for all my infirmities. Hallelujah. I don't talk about it much because I always tear up. It's been 5 years. So it's been 5 years. But there's something when the Spirit of God moves in you. What they say is just like fire shut up in your bones. See, I'm young. I'm a young man. But the word of God has proved itself true. You stay the course of God. You stay humble. Even if you have to get that thorn in your side because you got a big old head like me. And I think I gave that to my kids too. But I'm praying for them. You keep rejoicing in your weakness, in your infirmities. Anytime you get sick, Lord God, I thank you anyhow. I thank you anyhow. The devil ain't got nothing to do with this. I give the glory to my God. Hallelujah. For when I am weak, I am strong. If we can't get anything else from this message, and I pray that you do, you have to remember through your weakness, think about your infirmities, your maybe your job situation, maybe your family situation. All God is telling you, hey, you're carrying too much. Give it to me. Give it to me. And if not, I'm going to keep piling it up until you realize that without me, talking to God, you can do nothing. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.